Welcome to Slayerfest 98. I'm Ian Carlos Crawford.
And I'm Adam Sass.
Hi, Adam.
Hey, Ian. We are here joined by freelance writer and TV enthusiast
Tariq Raouf. Woo! I will
Hi,
say
Tariq.
that intro is like, it gets me every time because I've never done an intro on a podcast like that before. And so I always forget that I have to say my own name, but someone else introduces me. I'm like, oh, hi.
It's my favorite thing when I'm listening to other episodes, like, because everyone misses the jump. It's like it's like a great. It's like watching like one of those like just like one of those like Double Dare shows or whatever like that, where people just eat shit like right away. It's like, are they gonna make it? It's a wipeout. It's a wipeout show. Yeah.
It really is like even people, right, Adam, even people who've been on like 1,000 times will like forget that they have to say their
You
name.
have introduced me, like you have just been like, it's Ian Carlos Crawford, and there's like a dead, like plummeting silence, and I'm like, and it's me, like person who has been in the LA performing business for 20 years. Yeah.
And I feel like you've been doing the podcast since like our second year too.
Oh, when it was like everybody huddling around like a microphone in your own apartment.
Yes, right. I forgot. You did record in Brooklyn with me.
I did. Yeah. So,
I have since learned to edit.
Beautiful times.
So
I'm glad I'm not alone.
We're here to talk about Werewolf by Night. Adam and I literally were talking about it yesterday, and we last minute decided to plan this because we both kind of loved it. Adam, tell everyone what your general thoughts were. Go ahead.
Well,
yes.
like I would say it came up because Ian saw me tweeting 30 tweets in a row about Werewolf by Night. So he's like, so I think you've seen the special. I loved it. Like, I think obviously, like, I agree with like what seems to be the consensus, which is like more specials, please.
Yeah.
I think a big chief concern with a lot of the Disney Plus shows has been a little bit of a like shaky pacing. Where it's like some really good ideas, really good actors, you know, like some really fascinating stuff and world building. But for some reason, it just is like the process of getting there feels a little laborious, for better or worse, on each show. But this is the first time where I personally did not feel that sense of like, get on with it. Like this just seemed to kind of get to it right away. And I think, obviously, my once and always husband, Gail Garcia Bernal, like it just like you could just it was so fascinating how he's not really he's doing like silent movie acting in this basically because like there's not a ton of dialogue really except for like two scenes that suddenly like we're doing like silent movie and then suddenly for two scenes we forgot we have to do like a Whedon-y scene in every goddamn thing we ever do now. There has to be like a little wry elbow chuckle, like there has to be that scene. You can't just have an MCU scene without that. But besides that, I felt like he just like was like super grounded. A lot of it's just like him. Like the first half is just like him in a suit walking around, looking spooked by everything. Like it's very cool. And then you have Harriet Sansom Harris, who's just I think really just out the gate, rootin' tootin', just kind of led the energy charge on this, which was very very strong. Like I think it's very classic. Like. You have a hero, you have a clear villain, you have a clear rogue, you know, there's a Han Solo type with Elsa. So I feel like you just have a lot of the great building blocks of just pulpy adventure there. And I think they didn't have time to do a lot of their other, you know, thumb twiddling they usually do.
Yeah, there's no fluff. There's no time for fluff.
Yeah, Tariq, give us your overall thoughts.
I really, really loved it. I thought it was like peak Marvel television. It was so fun, and just being able to see the like artistic direction and the way that they like shot it with these old timey like film blind spots that would appear every once in a while. I thought was really, really fun. It was just like it was an artistic, like creative, like delight. It was so short and like I don't want to say I'm losing a word here. Digestible, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. But it was
I think that's true.
Succinct, and I really I liked that I don't have to worry about like, oh, when is it gonna start to like be boring?
Right. Yeah. Or like the thing that I think really helped this because it's fun. At the very least, this is fun, right? And I think what really helped it, honestly, was like, this felt like something Marvel higher ups probably didn't care about, but like Michael Giacchino, whatever how you say his name, did care about it. So I felt like it was almost like a passion project of his. Mm-hmm. So it was like he was able to make this fun story. He didn't have to connect it to everything. But also it did a fun thing of like introducing us to like the monster-y part of the Marvel universe, which, you know, we've gotten a little bit of that in like Doctor Strange, I guess. But this felt so different, right?
I was gonna say, to Tariq's point, like where it's like this had a big point of view, was trying to do something different. Where I felt where Multiverse of Madness, I think on the Multiverse of Madness episode, where I really enjoyed it, but I like obviously acknowledged that there were shortcomings, because Multiverse of Madness was a much more, it had 100 eyes and 100 fingerprints on that movie, where you couldn't, there's just, in order to successfully have your own point of view in the Marvel Universe in this current year, you have to be something where right out the gate, no one's really paying attention to, like Werewolf by Night, like the first Guardians of the Galaxy, like WandaVision, where everyone was like, okay, well, this is just one we jerk off and then we go home. But like, it turns out to be the ones that like everybody loves and is anchoring the entire universe now. So like that should maybe start cluing them into like, we like just set different artists free on that. And so I think Sam Raimi was trying to do like these big horror pushes, but then it had to keep getting like drawn back into standard MCU house style. And then, and then again with Werewolf by Night, like we like these characters, but we're not, it's not like with Wanda where it's like, like you better do exactly what we really need you to do with these characters. Like you could kind of jerk these characters around a little bit, and it felt disposable in the best way. Like it felt like a Treehouse of Horror, where it was just like, oh, we're just gonna have fun, and like this isn't, like maybe this will, I'm sure this is gonna have like impacts on the future, but like at first, until I saw the tomb like death dates, I thought like, oh, this was in the 30s. But then it turns out like there was like
that too.
1988. There was like
No, I was like the time frame kind of messed with my head, because it was like all old timey, but then like the very start you saw like the little like images of the Avengers go into like on the walls. I was like, wait, so when does this take place? It was so confusing. But then I saw the tombstones, like, oh, okay, all right, this is dope.
Yeah, I liked that. I'm sure that was on purpose, right? To make it seem a little bit more timeless. I was thinking, Adam and I were talking about these recently. Tariq, I don't know if you've seen the Rob Zombie Halloween movies.
I have not. I'm a fool.
Well, no. They are not good. But,
twist, you're not a fool.
Yeah, twist, you are not. Yeah. So we watched them for my horror podcast, My Bloody Judy, me and Zach. And the one thing that I did appreciate was that I was like, wait, what time are they supposed to take place in? Apparently Rob Zombie like didn't want cell phones in them, so that way they could look like they were they don't look like they're in the 70s, but it was like that way it could be. And I feel like here it was very intentional as well to be like, it looks very old, but because like Elsa,
right?
Yeah, I mean, she's wearing a jacket and like boots. It's not like she's wearing something.
It could be like a Sky Captain. I was thinking like, oh, this could be like Sky Captain, like kind of jacket, or and Giles' suit is very like could be like a Zeus. Like it could have been 40s. Like they could have it could have been like the year the Wolfman came out. Like it could have been 1941. It could have been like World War II. Like this could have been like, oh, that Captain America's overseas. Like I was waiting for like a little maybe moment of like, oh, we're gathered here, in spite of the war effort.
Yeah, I mean, right. But right, Adam, don't you think that was probably on purpose?
Yes, and get ready to ring that bell, because it is that time in every podcast that I show up on where I reference Twin Peaks. So Twin Peaks does this also, where it was in the 90s, but they were very purposefully channeling 50s, early 60s. They were like that, like the clothing style. There was very rarely a moment where you had a very modern. It's kind of why it's timeless, but it kind of lends this sort of like odd dream-like. You're not sure when this is set. It's sort of happening in another time. It's almost like how steampunk kind of runs, where it's like it is old-timey, but it's future. But it's like you just sort of you're in another place. And I liked feeling like unplugged from a certain time and space.
So what you're saying is I should watch Twin Peaks.
Obviously I'm always saying that, yes. But here's the thing. Here's why I'm going to be different. Here's why I'm not one of those white gays who insists upon it. But because I'm saying it is not for everybody. It's a lot of people are like it's boring, it's slow, it's this, it's that. I'm like, it didn't work for you. Good. But no, I think in terms of aesthetics, like if you're an aesthetics person, it's got great aesthetics. So at the very least, watch the pilot.
Yeah, and I do think I do think that pilot is one of the best pilots.
Hands down.
I do right, Adam, because I do think if you don't like the pilot, then you're probably not going to like
for real, because it gets more like alienating as the show goes on. No, I mean, like that was the thing. Like it aired in 1989, 1990, and like back then when TV was just absolutely like not respected in any way, they aired the pilot at the Cannes Film Festival. So
I didn't know that. That makes sense.
So anyway, that's my little Twin Peaks aside for the episode. But no, I think like to Werewolf by Night's credit, like I really think that obviously they were trying really strongly to go for sort of kids grindhouse. But it got pretty gruesome. So
it did get very gruesome. I was very shocked at how bloody some of the deaths were. I was like, okay, wow.
Adam and I, we kind of talked about this, but I was like, wow, I mean, not that it's, it's not fucking, a Halloween movie or Scream, but like, it's still for Marvel pretty bloody. And Adam, you were saying that that's probably why they did the black and white, right?
That is why they did that, because it's what they had to do in Kill Bill. When there's a sequence in the House of Blue Leaves in the first one where they have to, like, they suddenly go to black and white, and it's sort of like, ooh, aesthetics, we're changing this. It really was just to secure the R rating, because I think it happens when she plucks the eyeball out. But then, like, she plucks Elle's eye out in full color in the next one, so fucking everything. But anyway, but so I do know that, like, I think to get the first one by the censors, you had to go black and white, and it probably was for the best to sort of ease everyone into that, because again, it's not like obviously I watched this right after watching like 3 different just splatter movies, and even I was like, oh my god, like, because I just was expecting to put on a Marvel thing,
right?
Yeah, I feel like this...
Like, people can be stabbed in Marvel, but usually there's never a sign of blood at all if someone's stabbed.
No, and there was, like, and I think, did we all see the deleted scene, or deleted, like, they never shot it, whatever, from Multiverse of Madness, where Wanda is, like, puppeteering a headless corpse in battle? Like, it's gorgeous. Like, it's absolutely, like, it would have, like, brought the house down, I think.
Yeah, but I feel like there's no way they would do something that gory, right?
No, because they were already running pretty wild, making her go full villain that way. Like, the fact that she's like chopping people's heads off and then getting really goofy, marionetting a torso.
I did appreciate that, and I like when Elsa first she cuts the guy's arm off, then she shoots him with the arrow, and like she's covering his mouth like he's alive and he's dying. I was like, okay, this is pretty brutal. I like this.
She was serving Jessica Jones' bed.
Right?
100%.
I think just
my
because
husband thought that was Jessica Jones. He couldn't tell the difference between her and the actress.
They do look a lot alike.
Laura Donnelly. Yeah, they do look very, very similar.
Yes, I could totally see how someone would think they were the same actress, because it really does. It looks like her, and she even gives that acting, right? Like, she gives the like vibe of Jessica.
It's because she's over it, and also like Jessica Jones was I think the bloodiest. Like, Daredevil and Jessica Jones had been the bloodiest we've gotten so far.
Yeah, that was You're right. We did get like pretty like gory in that, because I think isn't it Jessica Jones season 1 where the person like has chopped their own arm off? or something.
It was, God, it's been 84 years.
It's so curious. Like that, those Marvel series are so far from like the current Marvel series too, you know?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
because like when Daredevil shows up in She-Hulk, like I was just like, I was ready to be mentally rebooted on him. Like I had no memory of, did he act that silly Billy in the old show? Like I remember him being kind of a drip. But you know, he was a little like, I was like, okay, well, he's a little charming. So yeah, I mean, honestly, like I think just there's been maybe so much Marvel since then, and just so much life. We stuffed a lot of life in the last 4 years.
Well, yes.
But yeah.
But yeah, I mean, even when I forget when they're like, I forget what someone says to her, but she's like, "Did you try looking up your own ass?" Like that's a very Jessica Jones.
Oh, very.
Right. Yes. And I will say, Tariq, I don't know if are you familiar with Elsa in the comics?
I am not. No.
Okay. So
see, that's the thing. I always feel like a noob when I come onto your podcast.
Oh my
because
God,
I don't know anything from the comics.
Adam, explain to Tariq that you also don't know the comics that well, right?
Oh, I was really counting on me being the one who didn't know. So this is so Ian, it's up to you.
So I will say that my intro to Elsa, she has a run on Marvel Zombies, which like in theory should be a stupid comic, but I do think those comics are pretty good. They were written by the guy who wrote The Walking Dead, and they were from like early 2000s. And there's like, what it is like there's a whole universe where all of them have turned into zombies, and like we keep having reasons that people have to go back. At one point, I think Deadpool has to go there. At one point, Robot Man has to go there. And one of the Marvel Zombies, which I actually looked, I only have volume 1, 2, and then there is a Ash versus Marvel Zombies, like Ash from the Evil Dead.
Oh, I remember that.
It's so weird, but it works. But I couldn't find the Elsa Bloodstone one, so I don't own it. So I was going to reread it last night. But in that, her whole thing is just like, because she has the Bloodstone, she's immortal. The zombies can't affect her. So it's just her annoyed blowing through all the zombies. And it's fantastic. And that was, I think, like 2006, 2008. And that was my first intro to her. And I was like, wait, I fucking love this character. And I appreciate that. Yeah. And I appreciate that they kept, like, they definitely give her like a redesign. Like she, you know, in the comics, of course, she's a comics character, so she has like a orange tube top and like bright red hair. But I like that they still kept her like, one, that she's like a human badass, and two, that she's over it all the time.
I saw somebody online teed that she wasn't a redhead, and I just was like, "Are we like? I'm gonna be 80 still hearing somebody peeved about it. She's red hair is not red. Bah, bah, bah. Like, I'm just gonna want to be like, please end it."
Yeah, seriously. And we've needed more Jessica Jones types since Jessica Jones. Like I felt like that,
we need Jessica Jones in this bullshit that we're talking about Daredevil so much, and she's not even in the conversation.
I think the rumor is that Daredevil is going to be an Echo, and he's going to be looking for her. Is like
yeah, don't worry. In 2028, when we start to get one of the X-Men, we'll start
So they do a good job, I thought, of like quickly, like you were saying, Tariq, it's very digestible. They give you a very quick, like, this is the Bloodstone, this is what you're all gonna get, there's a monster to hunt. And I thought it was pretty like a pretty good, fast, you know, when Elsa first runs into the, I wasn't quite clear on who that older woman was. Is that her stepmother?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. She runs into her, and that woman's immediately like, "Oh, we haven't seen you in 20 years. You don't have to be here. Okay, but you can participate, whatever." You know, they hate each other. Like, I thought the setup was pretty quick and like concise. And Adam, I'm curious from a writer, from someone who's published 2 novels now.
Well,
what did you think of like that setup part?
Listen, it's great. Listen, people keep thinking they need to reinvent the wheel, and I was like, watch any episode of Murder, She Wrote, where every time she's like meeting a brand new family dynamics, there's only so many different ways you do it. Just set it up, like just be like, you know, just refer to have the woman refer to her mother as dead, and then say your father was like we can pretty like a lot of those cues read super well. You don't really need to get plucked about it. Just do evil stepmom. That's we don't need to be like reinventing relationships.
Yeah. Tariq, what'd you think of how quickly they give you the story?
Oh no, I thought it was perfect. It was just easy enough to understand, but not like too easy that it kind of treats you like a child. Like you still have to kind of make some guesses. So I liked it.
Yeah.
I think all we needed to know was that it's like they were enemies and she's known her a really long time in like a family way.
Yeah. And like hates her.
Right.
I think the only thing that didn't make sense to me was that like what prevents anyone from just taking the stone from the person who wins this like contest, quote unquote, or like if it's a bloodstone and it's stayed within the bloodstone family, like why doesn't it just stay within the bloodstone family?
Right. Like, did it magically sense, like, is there like an allegiance within the stone? Like, it has to be one or descended down.
Yeah. So it was curious. That was the only part that I was like, interesting.
Yeah.
But,
and I will say the bloodstone actually, because I knew, and I realized that this didn't make sense, but for some reason, because I knew she was a monster hunter, because I knew she had this bloodstone, I think I had assumed, because like I said, that was my intro to her in the comics, and she had been in other comics aside from the Marvel zombies, but that was my intro to her. And because the zombies couldn't affect her, I think I thought she was like Blade, like half vampire, half human monster hunter. And in this, I was like, oh, did they change it for this? And then I looked up her origin and was like, oh no, she was never half vampire. I just bloodstone, immortal. I kind of like was like, oh yeah, vampire. That's what that means.
Maybe you were like, did you ever watch the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen? That's sort of like Mina Harker is like vampire, but like that sort of vibe.
Yeah. I think that probably didn't help me assuming that, but. Yeah, so we get all the setup. We learn that they're going to hunt a monster that has the bloodstone attached to it, and whoever gets it wins, right? That's, I was like, what the fuck about, I really liked how goofy the Ulysses animatronic, maybe also taxidermied thing was.
Like little Coney Island great. Haunted house.
Very like, Disneyland.
Animatronic. Yeah.
And like, everyone looks around like, what the fuck? Like, I appreciated that everyone in that room was like, that's fucking weird. Like, right?
I'd love to gag my friends and family with like a funeral like that.
Oh my god, I would love that. Yes, I think that would be so good.
Everyone has to just like put up with one more just bit of bullshit from me.
That is also like one of the reasons why it felt so timeless to me, or it felt like it was way back when, because he literally stuck like a cane into the coffin and had to crank it to get it to go. And I was like, what is
that man leapt out of a Tim Burton movie.
Yeah.
Just like this unnecessary way of opening the mechanism.
I love at the end when that butler is just like, turns to Elsa and he's like, I'm here to serve. And she's like, great, clean up this mess. Like, I love like that he's just like this like sniveling butler. Beautiful. And she's like, yeah, great. Do the thing. Just clean up the blood.
just watched her stepmom get like brains zapped into goo. Like.
And is like, but yeah, so we get the weird animatronic, and I love that the stepmom is like very amused by it. Like she loves the animatronic and everyone else is just like, okay. Then they do the whatever. Gael Garcia picks the domino with the thing on it, so he gets to go first. If anything, the only thing I found myself, I didn't know the names of anyone else except for Jack and Elsa. Yeah. Like all the other hunters, I was like, who are they?
This is where it's very funny when modern day like movies and shows have to like be very, very loyal to like nomenclature that was invented in the Adam West Batman era of like doing things, because it was like you have a guy who's like a big dog like being named Jack Russell. Like it's just so funny. Like and they made him so serious, you know, and kind of like, I mean, he's a little lighthearted, but like, you know, like the first half hour, like you've got a suit and he's talking about his ancestors and then it's just like, yes, Jack Russell. Like there's no like the name is very it was very silly, and I like that. I'm not wishing they changed it, but it is always like, I always love when it's like, oh, you have to name the character something from back when an era when like you just sort of accepted these more comic booky names.
Yeah,
I will say, like, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Tariq.
Well, I was just going to say, I find it very interesting with the plot mechanisms, because I totally thought that Jack was going to be the monster, and he went first because he was gonna ploy everyone into thinking that they're hunting someone else,
right?
Because I thought that it was going to be more about the werewolf, and I feel like the werewolf part was only really contained to the last quarter.
I did think it was going to be. I did think it was weird that like everybody was gooped by it. Like that there was like that. I thought it was going to be like a trap. Like it was like this bloodstone thing really was just an elaborate way to trap him. That he was like this elusive person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I will say that's a weird thing to like. It's called Werewolf by Night, so we know there's got to be a werewolf, and then like we know it's him, but then that's like not the like.
For like more than half the runtime, there's no werewolf anything. It's just like we're like chasing the swamp thing, and I don't know, but then like they really nailed it in the back half. So like I think that like did not.
I think you're right, Adam. That's why I didn't like talking about it. I'm like, but like it didn't really bother me because they do nail it so well for the back, like the end of it. But okay, so they go on their hunt. You know what I do appreciate? I really appreciated that when the weird Scottish man with the axe, when he like encounters them and Elsa saves Jack, and she goes to fight him, he like bashes her head into that concrete like he's like Michael Myers hitting her head.
Yeah.
Oh,
right.
That was my first, because I think that's the first big bit of violence in it.
Yes.
And then she's still not phased. Like she seemed superhuman.
That's why my husband thought it was Jessica Jones.
Yes.
That is
in hindsight, they should have just had it be Jessica Jones. She's got some fucking stepmom.
But I liked that, right? And you're right, Adam. That was when I was like, oh shit, okay, we're gonna do like, because she is just human, so like I like that it's like, oh no, she's just like a badass fighter. Because like even the stepmom said like, you haven't trained, it's been so long, don't feel obligated because she didn't want her there. And I liked that we saw her like holding her own, but it wasn't like too easy for her, right? Like she still ran away from him. She like took his axe and ran away.
Yeah, I feel like a Jessica Jones or a Buffy type, we just wouldn't be worried.
Yes, yeah. It would be like they get their head smacked a bunch of times and they turn around and kill the person. Yeah. So I think that was a good thing with her to be like, she's okay, but like she knows she can't win right now, so she is going to just take his weapon and leave because she doesn't want to die. Then we quickly get Jack. He's like snooping around and he sits down and a hand grabs him. And Adam, what is the hand?
It's Man Thing, I think. Is the creature's name. Yeah. Or Ted.
Yes.
I just love that it was like, oh, he's just so gentle, but like he will kill you unless you call him Ted.
Yeah. I don't know. It feels like that's very Marvel-y, but it worked for me. The monster who's like this hideous creature is just named Ted and is just like whatever and like chill.
I love Ted.
Right? It was a very God, I've been away from Buffy too long. What's the poker playing?
Oh, Clem.
Clem. I was like Clarence. Yeah. It was very Clem. Yeah.
And I feel like I like that kind of shit where it's like, oh, actually these like all these like humans hunting monsters, they're actually the bad people, and like the monster's actually pretty cool. They're just being terrible to it, and it can kill you because you're being terrible to it. I liked that because I was curious what they were gonna do, because I know Man-Thing in the comics is, for all intents and purposes, like a quote unquote good guy. He's not like a villain. So I was curious what they were gonna do with that, but also I was like, well, but like, I don't know that anyone's like super attached to Man-Thing or Werewolf by Night, so they could just do whatever the fuck they wanted with them,
Werewolf by Night has had like a long, because I remember like reading it like 20 years ago. Like it's had many different kind of iterations. And there's multiple, like, and there is Jack Russell, but there's also Jake Gomez. And I think there was, like, up until the very end, there was confusion over which one he was going to play. And I think there was even like an IMDb. I don't know if you noticed that there was an IMDb confusion up until right before the movie came out. Is that so? There's two majorly known Werewolf by Night characters, but the second one, Jake Gomez, was listed in IMDb with an actor tied to it, Jacob Maya, and we don't know if it was an accident or what, or if, like, there was, like, maybe a deleted part, because that was kind of like, I think leading up to it, I was like, oh, okay, I saw, like, they were going to do that. So when I was watching the movie, I was like, I wasn't thinking Man Thing was going to be the thing. I was like, oh, they've got, because he was also talking about his ancestors and his family. I was like, oh, so he comes from this family of werewolves, and, like, they've captured, like, his brother or something, and he's posing as someone else to get him out of there. And so I guess, so I guess that will be a mystery for the ages, or it could have just been some just classic MCU misreporting.
Right.
But yeah, I think that was the thing, is that we weren't quite sure what character that was going to be. And I think going forward, we're not really quite sure, because there's, do you know much about the Midnight Suns?
I mean, I know that that's supposed to be a thing, right? They're supposed to be doing that.
It's sort of like the Monster Avenger. There's sort of like, I think it's like Blade, Werewolf by Night, Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
Who else?
Is his name as a superhero Werewolf by Night?
I think he should be a jerk about that and be like,
I'm sorry.
Right. It should be like a Star-Lord thing where he's like, no, you have to say my whole thing. Right.
What that story is. So like I had no idea this was like a comic. And I'm trying to, like, wrap my head around, like, what the comics would have been about if it wasn't, like, this specific story. And then now I'm just like, wait, was his actual name Werewolf by Night? Like, is that what they was like, oh, it's Werewolf by Night? Like, is that what they do?
Like, oh, hi, Werewolf by Night. Or like, oh, these are our teammates, Elsa Bloodstone and Werewolf by Night. Like, that sounds...
No one ever shortens it. I don't want it ever shortened.
But yeah, no, when I was younger, I did like the spookier whatever. Like, I always loved when Doctor Strange and Scarlet Witch had to do something with demons or whatever, like bullshit like that. So I do know, like, and I think Elsa Bloodstone has been part of the Midnight Suns. And I gotta say, with this, I'm, like, feeling confident moving forward. Like, ooh, that could be really cool. Like,
there's, like, Moon Knights in it. And I think, what's his face? Kit Harington's character in Eternals is supposed to be part of that.
Is it Black Knight or Dark Knight? Black Knight, I think, right?
If it's Dark Knight, I'm gonna pee myself.
I want Dark Knight, Moon Knight, and Werewolf by Night to be in a group and just call it the Night Watch.
And they're not even, but they don't call themselves knights, or what. There's no knight in it, and then people keep being like, well, I don't know. I think you need to workshop that name a little bit more.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, this also got me thinking, like, ooh, now that they're expanding, there are characters we've met that could fit into, like, a spooky season type special like this. I was thinking, like, how cool would it be to see, like, Elsa and Ted and Jack Russell? God, even his, like, real name using is, like, such ridiculous.
I know, I'm sorry, yeah.
Like, having them have to fight, like, Agatha, you know what I mean? And, like, a witchy thing. Like, that would be fun.
For real.
Like, yeah. Right? And, like...
Because, like, the Bloodstone, when I can't even know her name, Harriet Sansom Harris, I don't know the character's name, but, like, when she uses that on Jack to turn him later on, like, that Bloodstone's looking a little Scarlet Witchy.
Right?
Or a little Scarlet Orby, and it can't just be because there's only so many different ways to do Orby stuff in this universe, but could be connected.
Well, and, like, even... I know you didn't, Adam. Tariq, did you watch the Runaways?
I did, actually.
Because do you remember Nico, when she did her magic, they made sure it looked exactly like Doctor Strange's magic.
Yes, no, I actually do remember that. I really like that.
Right, and she could be. I really liked her character. She would be a cool character to have in something like this. Like, the Marvel has like slightly given us, like casually given us a couple of like characters that could fit into a spooky season thing. Like we got Ghost Rider and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. He was hot and Hispanic, so like sign me up. Love Hispanic hero rep, but also love him being hot.
You've got Ghost Rider and Werewolf by Night and Moon Knight now, all the kind of like Latinx characters in here. So it's like you could build a little
right. Give me a team.
Team.
But like I don't know. I was thinking about how fun that could be if they do stuff like this all the time, and also, I don't know. He did such a good job. Give it to the same like team, like right, like be like, yeah, you can do whatever you want with these characters because we don't care as much or whatever. And it's fun.
Well, now that it worked so well,
yeah,
they're not going to leave it alone now.
Yeah, no.
Now they're going to be like, no, we need to make sure it's exactly the same energy. We just get it. No. That's the thing. That's what happens. Unfortunately,
it makes so much sense to have a Halloween like Marvel thing every season.
Yeah.
Now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I love it.
I really hope they do. But so we quickly see that we see her kill that other man. The guy gets his axe back, but then that guy gets killed by Man-Thing because I'm not 100% sure, but he like touches you and burns you. It's like he burns your fear or something. I don't quite
He's like know. The judge.
Yeah.
It like that touch disintegrated you. Yeah.
Yeah. So like I thought that was cool. I was even surprised, like not that that's bloody or gory, but I was surprised at the visual of like Marvel. It's like the most we usually get is like, you know, in the dust in like Infinity War, it's brutal, but like they're just turning to dust, so it's not. But these people are like burnt alive and like disintegrated. So I was like, okay, cool. Like even that's a little
like Indiana Jones level, like where it's like, oh my god, people are melting and burning. It's like I think it kind of got to that ghoulish height where it's like I think Disney knows like that kind of thing is sort of like a supernatural burning alive.
Right.
Like it wasn't like he dumped gasoline on them and lit a match.
Right. Yeah. You are right, Adam. It did feel pretty Indiana Jones. Like even the vibe, right? Like there's like an old relic and like there might be a monster and like, oh, the humans are also bad though. And like, that is very Indiana Jones. Man-Thing escapes. Jack Russell goes to pick up the Bloodstone. He gets shot back. We learn that he is also a monster, but they're not telling us what kind. We know because of the title of the thing we're watching. And then they wake up and they're in a cage, which this scene, the way they did him turning, I fucking loved. And I'm curious what you all thought about it. Adam, yes.
Well, I was suspicious at first because normally this is how a lot of werewolf transformations happen, like in various shows, like in Vampire Diaries or wherever. Like it's a way to disguise that the effects aren't great.
Yes.
Because again, like to really do. I mean, this is why 1981's American Werewolf in London is so revered. And like they invented literally the best makeup Oscar category to give it to it because it's done in a completely brightly lit room. There's no shadows. There's nowhere for the effects to hide. And these are like 40-year-old effects and they still hold up. So it's very, very difficult to do. Ever since then, especially, you know, even down to the one with Benicio del Toro 10 years ago, like has these sort of like, we're doing it in cutaways, we're doing it in shadows, we're doing it with sound effects, we're doing it like kind of in your mind. What I think this one did really was, so it was a little like, oh, okay, you're just going to do the silhouette against the wall thing. Like I think a lot of people have done that. But what I did like was that they saved it for the emotional moment of like when because it's like they did the Jaws thing where it's like, we're just not going to show any of it to you. We're going to do this purely through sound design. And then bang, we're going to show you in like a money shot all at once.
Yeah.
So that's when like, you know, you see the mist and the steam and her, she's pulled in and her arm is torn off or whatever. And then there's suddenly a big hole in the opening and where is it? And suddenly, and then you see him like full body shot. Like that was very, very well constructed. So I'm glad they did that. Because at first I was like, oh, well, they're just going to do cut around so they don't have to, you know, keep, the effects team running around the clock.
Tariq, what did you think of the way they did that?
I thought it was really, really cool. I really liked it. In my head, I was constantly trying to think of oh, she has to keep eye contact on him the entire time, like to stay alive. And like then the mist kind of like came in, or like the smoke from the little zapper machines, and I was like, wait, how is she gonna stay alive? And then we found out that he escaped. I was like, oh, okay, so it'll be fine. I don't know why my head was so stuck on that plot point, because I really wanted them to like be okay. But I really, really enjoyed the way that they did the shadow on the wall and the transformation there. I thought it felt very old timey and very it really took advantage of the black and white, and I think that's what I loved about it.
Yeah, and I think the music swelling and the like focusing on her. Like we've already seen this character in action. We know she's not like a damsel in distress, right? But she is a human person stuck in a cage with a man turning into a monster. So like it made sense that she would be scared, right? And like she's like, and I just the way that shot could have almost been too much, but I thought they didn't linger. They like let it sit and then moved on. They didn't like make it take too long. And yeah, to your point, Tariq, like he said, like make eye contact, and you know he sniffs her because he wants to have her scent be familiar for when he turns into the werewolf.
I thought that was cute. Like
I was gonna say, which like maybe is stupid, but I liked it. Like I did like that
because I love leaning into the world building. Like where it's like, yes, that is what you need to do, and she had this very good Jessica Jones response to it, which wasn't like, get your hands off me, but it was a little like she did know it needed, whatever he was doing, it needed to happen. For her own safety. So it was a little like, I'm annoyed, I'm feeling a little grabbed, but this is he's not doing what I thought he would be doing.
Right. Like ultimately, yes, this will help me. So fine, fucking sniff my hair.
And Kyle just like kind of sold it. Like that's a very difficult moment to sell.
Yes.
It's just like, okay, then you kind of grab her and then you sort of do this Gomez-y Adams, like just like you're not like enraptured by her. You're just sort of like putting your dog scent on her.
The Gomez Adams thing. I was like trying to figure out like who he reminded me of, and that's exactly who I kept thinking of the entire time.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was taken by the passion.
So I do have another question. For the room, I kept reading people say that they thought those guards were supposed to be the TVA from Loki.
What?
Yeah, I didn't think that, right?
I did not think that.
The TVA shows up for like a second, and then like Men in Black zaps you and then leaves.
Right?
Yeah, they like destroy the entire timeline. They would be like, bye.
I was looking up like little like Easter egg stuff, and there really wasn't much in this, which is fine.
Foot soldiers.
Like there was a couple articles where it was like, as we all know from the trailer, the TVA is the guards, and I was like, wait, what?
These YouTube Marvel folks, they work harder than CNN in 24 hours. I swear to God,
that's true. But okay, I wanted to make sure it wasn't just me, because I was like, I didn't think that's who that was. Like, we see in like sci-fi all the time that guards will have those sticks, and like in the TVA they disintegrate you. So they didn't do that.
Yeah, the stick. He was just getting. He was prodded. It was. Like you might as well just be electric. Like, well, as we know that gamekeeper from Jurassic Park. That's those sticks. It's the same world.
Yeah. Okay, good. So it's not just me. All right. Because the only Easter egg I did see, which I thought was cute, and this is the kind of shit that I am like, yes, to do stuff like that where it's not overtaking the story, is when the like the art on the walls where the Avengers are, apparently there is an art of Gore the God Butcher from Thor: Love and Thunder on the wall. And I'm like, you know what? Great. This cute, like shit like that is cute. That's where it's like, yeah, that's a cute Easter egg because it like doesn't matter, but it's like cute. And like, I like that kind of shit.
I was going to say what I liked the most about the way this all unfolded, the way it existed, and then the way it was rolled out publicity wise, I really enjoyed that this was, you didn't need to, you could just have never seen a Marvel thing and you could have enjoyed it. There was like, if there was an Easter egg, it was not like, you better pay attention because it's going to be you will not be able to compute the next scene if you don't know that that's Gore the Cloud on the painting.
Right.
There was no like, real tags or whatever that like led to anything else. Like it was not setting up anything. It was the thing it was doing.
Yes.
And then even like we weren't hearing about it for 2 damn years. It was just like we like, it was like, I think it was like a month before it came out. They were like at D23, they were just like, all right, yeah, here's a trailer, and then here's who's in it, and then it's out. Like it just was. It was very old school in how they used to just like basically only advertise a movie like a month beforehand.
Yes, which I like.
Yes, I agree.
I remember at the end of Ms. Marvel, I was like, oh, cool, they tease the Marvels. And it's like, oh, no, but we have to wait like nearly 2 years. And it's like, are you kidding me? Like,
to find out what she's doing in the
plot. So, yeah, no, I think that also worked to its advantage where it's like, we got the trailer and that's it. And it was just like, oh, cute. This doesn't like I said, I didn't even know Elsa Bloodstone, a character I liked in the comics, was in this till I was watching it. And I was like, oh, cute. She's in this. I didn't know that. And
it
like,
had a beginning, middle, and end. There was no.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. At the end of Werewolf by Night, he is bitten by a werewolf. So then now, like, wait 3 more years. Oh no! God, we lost about 5 directors. Okay.
Yes.
Right. Script's not there yet. Yeah.
Yeah. That I think that's my least favorite thing in Marvel is lots of times when it's like, the Daredevil show, and then he's not Daredevil till the season finale, and it's like, come on. Like, I was glad in She-Hulk she put on her costume before the end. It's like, yes, please, just
oh my God.
We know who the hero is. We don't need a whole like season of build up to being like, oh, now they're gonna be the hero.
You've seen the Surf Dracula tweet, right?
I don't know.
So the Surf Dracula. So there's a tweet that's basically kind of took modern TV to task. They were like, in the 1960s, if there was a show called Surf Dracula, that guy would be surfing every episode for 200 episodes. If you did Surf Dracula today, you'd go through like 3 seasons, and at the end of the 3rd season, he'd pick up a surfboard.
It's so accurate.
That is fucking accurate. You know what? That was my big, Tariq, we were just talking about the Runaways. I do like that show, but I was so annoyed that they don't become the Runaways until the end of season 1.
Yes.
Like, come on, that's the name. Like, it's the name.
It took them a whole season to get there.
And it's so funny that this is the way we're telling stories now in the most dangerous to get suddenly canceled era we've ever had.
Oh, I know. Like, you don't even get to the meat of the story.
Right.
Yeah. Adam, actually going back to the Runaways, which, Tariq, I don't know if I loved their Cloak and Dagger crossover in, I think it's season 3.
Oh, I missed that season. I only watched it for 2.
So season 3, I actually think is pretty, I think 3 is better than, 3 is maybe my favorite. I don't know. But so there was the Freeform Marvel show, Cloak and Dagger. They literally did a crossover with the Runaways. Adam, this is wild, just speaking to what you just said. They have a 2-episode arc in the Runaways that was supposed to be go over to Cloak and Dagger, and it was supposed to be like continued on their show with the Runaways appearing on theirs, and their show got canceled.
Why would you not
right?
Why would you plan for that if you weren't sure? Okay, so here's the other thing. Has anyone seen Rob Zombie's The Monsters, which just came out?
I have not.
It's up. Like, okay, so it's, I thought it was like fun. I was like, okay, we're gonna check this out. It's gonna be cute. Like, and I was like, oh, Rob Zombie, he does like triple R rated stuff, doing something very PG. Let's see how it is. It's a prequel. They don't become the monsters until the last 5 minutes.
Wait, really?
Wait a minute. Like, no, there's no family. Like, they don't know each other.
God.
No, because it's about how like Lily and Herman fall in love, and like the grandpa like hates Herman even though they're like best friends in the show. And at the end of the here's the thing: at the end of the movie, you're watching this whole thing, thinking like, okay, like they buy the Mockingbird Lane house at the end of the movie, and they're gonna move in together. And you'd think there'd be some sort of setup because, like, they don't have the blonde Marilyn cousin. They don't have obviously the son yet, the werewolf son. You'd think there'd be some sort of like, oh, he learns to, the grandpa learns to like him at the end, or she's like, oh, I'm pregnant, and then you hear like a little wolf thing, and like there was just nothing. It was just like 2 hours. It was not even 90 minutes. It was 2 hours of like just hijinks, and just it was very. So there's a company. It's Universal put it out, but there's a company called Universal 1440 that does like very like they're doing like sequels to Cop and a Half and Dragonheart. Like they're just doing like really churning sequels that are done for like $250,000, and they film in Croatia. Jesus. So that's what the monsters. Anyway, if you see like what it's the new monsters, it's like they don't meet on screen until the end.
Jesus, I'm so tired of origin stories.
Me too. It's terrible. Also, who was clamoring for a monster's origin story?
They already did. They did. The Bryan Singer did the monsters with like. And did you ever see the pilot for Mockingbird Lane where it was like?
Oh no, I didn't see that, but I heard about it.
It was like Brian Fuller, yeah, and it was Jerry O'Connell was Herman Munster, and Portia de Rossi was Lily. Oh. And like they just weren't in costumes. It was like they looked like Jerry O'Connell and Portia de Rossi with like a little bunch of like little like he had tiny little bolts in the side, but he was not green. He was Jerry O'Connell. And it didn't work. No one liked it, and it did not go. And so every 5 years we have to do a new Monsters. And, oh my god.
Wait, Adam, I just Googled this. I cannot believe how correct you are that it literally is just Jerry O'Connell with like a thing on his neck.
Like he's maybe got he's got an appendix stitching scar on his neck.
Yeah, that's literally it. And Portia de Rossi is just Portia de Rossi with brown hair.
She's just looking drowned.
Oh no!
They gave her like wet hair. Yeah.
This is so weird. It's funny because I have heard good things about this Mockingbird Lane, but
well, because Eddie Izzard as Grandpa, like I've heard like good things about like I don't know, fucking monsters. It's just supposed to be a sitcom where it's just monster. Like I don't like we're doing all this. This is where I turn into like Andy when he looks like a real big crank, where I'm just like, what are we doing here? What are we doing?
So
why are we doing origins? I loved this.
I did. So we get the end gets a little Marvel-y, but I think it still works with the action because it's like fun and it's. I think you're right, Adam. It's the Indiana Jones of it all. That like it's an adventure story. So like, we need the like swashbuckling at the end. And I gotta say, this scene where the fucking werewolf man is fighting all those guards as the door is shutting, and the like shadow that's being cast, and it's like flashing lights, looked so fucking cool, right?
It was awesome.
So cool. And especially seeing this in the same week, we also got a Daredevil fighting in the hallway scene again.
Yes.
It was very Daredevil fighting in a hallway where just you knew everyone in that hallway was fucked. With both these guys,
It was really funny too because like there was this one guy who was on the like left corner right next to the door, and I kept expecting him to try and like run away or like get cut off by the door, and he never tried to run away. I was like, you fool.
And now the werewolf ate you, so
that would have been a great idea because I was thinking there was going to be something with the closing door, the gradually shutting thing. That would have been a great thing to have someone like just not make it out of there with his whole arm intact.
But like I Adam, you know more about classic monster. Was that like shot more like a homage to a shot from a classic monster movie, or was it just a cool shot?
It's just a cool shot. I think, because again, like most of these old monster movies are just not very action packed. These are from like early sound era. Like I think if you've ever seen the very first Dracula with Bela Lugosi, it's the soundtrack is extremely simple because like literally it's from the first 2 years of sound film, like where there's just where like in the first year of because it used to just be like there would only be some of the movie had sound in it because you had to have a whole different pressed record playing at the same time. Like they weren't even. It took a while before they even got the sound onto the film strip itself. Like there was like you had to to play like a phonograph at the same time. So like the first Dracula has like long stretches of just music, and it's very atmospheric. But like the reason for that is because like you could only have like certain stretches of the thing have dialogue. So like a lot of the stuff is like very early filmmaking. So I think the biggest homage was probably, as Tariq said, like the silhouette of the wolf changing.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Yeah, so we get, she disposes of some of the other hunter people. And so I guess this is also important to say, like, when Jack met Ted at first, he says he's always saving him. Of course, he has to come back for him. I liked that in the end, Ted comes in and saves them.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was like
wonderful.
a cute, that like, especially it's like, oh, this big dumb monster. He's like actually more like aware than we thought he was, right?
Yeah.
And I like that. I like that Elsa first gets her stepmom with whatever the fuck that, like, speaking of Kill Bill, Adam, it's like she hits her with the thing and pulls her.
It looked like a Zelda hook shot or something.
Yeah.
Some sort of like, it was some claw grabber. It was sick. It was great.
Yeah, I thought that because that's like pretty brutal. That would fucking hurt.
Like in the spine. Like she had like a werewolf rip off her arm and then took a freaking like shooter gun to the back, like, and she's still like, I've got the upper hand, like this old lady.
Grandma's pretty tough. But then Man-Thing comes in, Ted, and he disposes of her. And Elsa gets the Bloodstone. I thought this was a very nice wrap up too, and I liked the transition to color. Mm-hmm. I thought it was like a clever way to do it. It's like she fucking won. She's sitting down. She's having a drink. She's telling that old man butler to clean up the dead bodies, and she's good. And then we get Ted and Jack. Jack is like, I appreciate that they made it be like a hangover because that kind of makes sense. Mm-hmm. And him and Ted go back and forth a little bit, and I was very charmed by that.
I love how colorful Ted turned out to be.
Yes.
Yeah, with all the flowers and mushrooms and stuff. Yeah, you never really noticed in the black and white.
And I was thinking about that, how cool he looked both in color and in black and white. And I do think there's a world in which the black and white, like they probably had to do it differently, right? They probably just wasn't like a colorized version of that they made black and white, because he might have looked too like blah, right?
Because that's the other thing is that like, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay.
Well, I think they obviously, like, I think that's the one. Obviously, that's the one good thing Michael Giacchino did. But that was a really good thing he did, because it was like you just have to. You can't, like, when you do black and white filmmaking, you have to light it differently. You can't just light the thing and then just take the color out, like because otherwise you end up with grays. Like the way you get these sort of like rich, true blacks, especially in digital, which just don't happen. Like you have to in the digital age, you have to like really go in there during post-production and do color correction, which not everybody does, which I don't know if you're currently seeing, there's like a tweet going around about Halloween Ends that's clearly needs some color correction. Anyway, long story short, like shooting Ted like very, very differently, with where it's just like shadows and these sort of electric white eyes and tendrils.
Mm-hmm. And you know what made me think of that? I will tell you both. I was excited to take a picture for this like cover, because I was like, oh cool, I can make it look old and whatever. That was fucking hard to light to make it look cool in black and white. So what I ended up doing was the Man-Thing I have in color, and then everything else is in black and white, because there was no way to light the figure that I have of Man-Thing and make it look cool in black and white. Like it just ended up looking mush. So I had to keep that in color and made everything else black and white. Also, Marvel Legends do this thing where it's a Build-A-Figure where like pieces of it come with different figures. He was the Build-A-Figure for the Marvel Legends Netflix figure line. I didn't get all of them, so I don't have the full figure. So I have half of his body behind a bush because I don't have that part of his body. the film magic, am I right?
I was gonna say, I was like, here you are, you're doing your own black and white lighting. You know how it is.
But yeah, okay, so I guess we are at the end. Tariq, what was your favorite part?
Oh gosh. Oh god. I did not have enough time to think about my favorite part. I would say when she had to get the keys out of the tomb because she knew that her crazy aunt wanted to have an exit strategy. Yes. And I thought that was brilliant.
Adam?
Well, I really think, like, I was really happy that they went for, that's the other thing that these old kind of monster movies do, which is like the sort of gothic romance of it. Like that there was, like, after he's just like ripped people's throats out and he's on top of her, that she still finds the energy to like kind of like caress him and have this sort of like snarly, soft moment. I thought that was like just a wonderful touch, and I was really happy they like went there because like it's just leaning into the genre. Like every time they leaned into the genre rather than shy nervously away from it, I was just very pleased. So I think that's going to do a lot of good towards, because again, that's the other thing, is that like all the horror movies that I've been watching, a lot of them that I like discovered when I was like 10 or 11. I don't know what your guys' horror origin stories are, but like when like your first time you watched adult horror as a young person. But like I remember mine being like 10 or 11, basically like watching like stuff accidentally on TV when like no one was around, like, you know, turning something on and having it just be so disturbing. And I'm just very gleeful knowing that like some kid is tuning in going like, okay, well, I'm just going to watch another Marvel thing. And then it's just like this, the first time they're seeing the most gruesome sort of stuff. And then there's this like monster fucker romance kind of thing going on. Like, I think I was like, yes, create the new generation. It's wonderful. I think this is going to do a lot of good for a lot of gens.
Adam, you are right, because I do think you and, like, I don't know how you feel, Tariq, but I think baby Ian and Adam would have fucking ate this shit up, right?
I would have been so in love with it. I would have been like, I'm Elsa Bloodstone, basically. I'm very
100%.
Yeah, I would have been like, you know, like, I don't know, he's kind of gross, he smelled me, but that also was like kind of cool when he did that.
Right?
Yeah, like
I kind of want him to smell me. Like,
I was like, I really didn't like it at first, but now, I don't know, it's been a few weeks, I'm kind of missing that. No, like, it would have left a big, gross thumbprint on my soul. It would have been great.
Yeah. I think my favorite scene is still the shot of Werewolf ripping apart the guards as the door. I just love the way that
Werewolf
looked.
by Night. You've got to say that.
You gotta say his whole name.
Right.
I'm sorry, Jack Russell. I did not mean to not say your whole name. I just love that both names are fucking ridiculous.
There is no way out. What did I just say? I said I like when you lean into the genre. Lean into it. Hit it.
Like, Ian, lean in, Ian. You're not leaning in.
Lean in, I said. Yeah.
What grade do we give this, Adam?
Oh, I give it an A. It did what it set out to do, and it did it very well, and it got the hell out of there in under an hour. Perfect.
Yeah. Tariq?
I 100% agree with Adam. Yeah. A.
Yeah. Same. Look at that. Hey, I really need a buzzer for when everyone has. Yeah, for when everyone has the same grade.
Listen.
It's always nice. It's always nice that we all actually agree.
Especially nowadays where like I feel like it's harder to get a Marvel that's an A.
Yes.
All the way.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Thank you both for joining me. Thank you all for listening. If you like Slayerfest 98, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and anywhere else you get your podcasts. You can support us on Patreon. We are finishing up What If Season 1. We finished Harley Quinn Season 2. We'll be moving on to Season 3 soon. And if you want to follow us on social, we are at SlayerFestX98. If you want to follow me, I'm at IanXCarlos. Tariq, where can everyone find you?
I'm on all social as Tariq, Tariq, and then _ Raouf, Raouf.
Adam, where can everyone find you and buy your books?
Oh, hey. So you can find me on all social platforms at The Adam Sass. I am a young adult author who has both a horror and a romance out. So this fall, whether you are looking for spooky season horror, you can check out Surrender Your Sons, or if you are looking for cozy fall romance, you can check out The 99 Boyfriends of Micah Summers. Both are available wherever you buy your books.
She does it all, folks.
I do it all, honey.
Well, thank you both for doing this, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.